This week, we're going to be talking about the week of January 23rd through the 29th. It is going to be about Venus moving through Pisces. So with Jupiter and Chiron in Aries and the Sun in Aquarius, we are going to continue discussing the recent themes of authenticity, community, and individualism. As Venus begins its transit through its exalted sign, Pisces, compassion and empathy becomes a major theme in our relationships. However, it's also important to be mindful of people-pleasing, bending over backwards, or being deceived by a partner. As long as you're being the authentic individual, you will be able to truly be empathetic to your partner without losing yourself in the process. Stay tuned.
The weekly transit.
Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth. I'm Scott Tajarian. I'm an interpreter of this language. Join me and my co-host Ingrid Iverson, who helps bring an even more practical look at this astral language. The weekly transit is here to bring clarity to the chaos, so you can ride the planetary waves instead of the planets riding you.
The weekly transit.
Okay, so we started this new Zoom thing, but I thought maybe that my video would look better if I got a webcam. So I used a webcam one of these times, and now I can't find it anywhere. And I think I might have put it back in the box and then just thrown it in the trash, because I don't know where it could have possibly gone.
That's a very Mercury retrograde type of thing.
I know, we're at the retrograde.
We're in the retrograde
ended.
shadow.
Okay.
Yes.
Fuck, so annoying. So I don't know where my webcam went.
Yeah.
And I had some other retrograde situations. Well, I guess it's technically the shadow now, but before we got on here, I was like, what is going on?
You got a flat tire and this whole parking situation, and you were a flat tire in the rain. Oh my God. That's chaotic.
Of course, the retrograde is blessing us with convenience and
I've heard a lot of these types of stories. Like so many people, like clients or friends or whatever, been traveling, lost their bags. I know someone who lost their bags twice.
No.
Traveling.
What do you do? What do you do when you lose your bag? That's just awful.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And then did you hear about there was I think this is in South Carolina or something. Like, I didn't even know that they had this, but apparently Amtrak has automated trains, and the train broke down and stopped in the middle of nowhere, and all these people were trapped on the train for 30 hours.
30 hours? What
yeah.
the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Did they even have enough food for those people?
I heard they called pizza delivery and that sort of stuff near to wherever they were to get fed.
That's absurd. I didn't hear that.
That's a very retrograde type of adventure. Yeah. So, yes.
But are we coming out of the shadow?
We're in the shadow period. Mercury retrograde. Mercury moves out of its retrograde shadow on February 6th. Mars doesn't move out of its retrograde shadow in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, until March 15th. So, even though it's going to hopefully get a little better, a little smoother end of this month and into February and March, it's still going to be tense, because not only is the retrograde and the retrograde shadow still creating this sort of chaos, but Saturn is moving to the end of its transit in Aquarius. It's going to be moving into Pisces on March 7th, and Pluto is ending its transit through Capricorn and is moving into Aquarius on March 23rd. So March is going to have some really big shifts in the frequency, but February is going to be very intense, because when these heavenly bodies get to the edge of the sign that they're in, it's kind of like it builds that pressure and it gets more and more intense. So Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah. Something to look forward to. Something's going to pop and we're going to get moving forward in a certain direction. And, hopefully the shift in the frequency is a positive one for whoever you are, wherever you are. It's all how you're working with the energy. So we'll be talking about it here, what all of that means moving forward.
And then if you're new to the podcast, or if you're a longtime listener and you want to further your education in astrology, the best way to follow along with the weekly transit is to go to the website, click on forecast. We have all of our images there and an overview of all the questions Scott asks me. And then in any of the show notes, wherever you're listening, if you go to the show notes, there's a link to purchase The Basics of Astrology, the book we put together. That's basically a glossary of all of the signs and symbols and how to translate them. Mm-hmm. And if you want to watch our beautiful faces, we are on YouTube and Spotify. And Scott, before we get started, would you like to thank our lovely sponsors?
Yes, of course.
And if you'd like to sponsor the podcast, go to the show notes. There's a sponsor link. You can donate $1, $5, or $10, and that allows us to do more of what we love, sharing the planets and stars with you.
Absolutely. So we want to thank Larry, Deborah, Haley, Libby, Janelle, Nicole, Janine, Ricky, Amaranth, Catherine, Merdinas, Aline, Robin, Stephanie, Brenna, Cassie, Lori, Carrie, Annie, Brooke, Clarissa, Amber, and did I say Vincent and Michelle? Vincent and Michelle. We want to thank them as well. Yes.
If you don't have anything to send us monetarily, we also appreciate everything you do. So commenting on the videos, sharing the podcast with somebody, rating us 5 stars, all of that really helps us also. So thank you for all those. Yeah. And then I got 2 really lovely tips from 2 beautiful ladies, Lindsay and Marie, this week. One was because she really loved the podcast. And then one was the listener who got asked on a paid vacation. Yeah. So thank you, ladies, so much. I appreciate you. So that was a fun little treat. So I had that. And then I also I didn't share this with you. So there was those 2 things. And then some random person asked about sexting. They asked if I do that. I mean, I don't usually do that, but people put it on their OnlyFans.
People pay you to like sex them? Yeah.
So wow. He was like, do you do this? And I was like, sure. So I just looked up immediately, like, how much people charge. My friend Gio was calling me. I was like, I'll call you back. I'm trying to like make some money right now. Anyways.
So you did some sexting?
Yeah. And I got paid
oh my God.
I made like $50.
Wow.
For like 20 minutes, I think.
Wow.
I know. I was like, this is amazing. I should do this more. It was like, it wasn't even something I'm like interested in. I've always been like, I do not want to fucking text anybody. That's just beyond my capabilities of comfort and just attention. It just feels like annoying, but I was stoked. It was very strange, but I was like, I just sat here on my fucking couch. Okay. So those were all really fun treats. So I was like transferring stuff from my like Venmo, and I was like, this is hilarious.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was amazing.
That's cool. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Expanding my options.
Yes. Wow. You're just multifaceted. The Gemini rising, all these different talents, Ingrid.
And then also, if anyone has any recommendations, we are looking to get involved with other people's podcasts. So if you think another one that you listen to might be a good fit for us, or if you have your own podcast, somebody reached out who has their own podcast that is amazing. The girl that I sent you that said she'd like to have us on. I'm very excited because I listened to her last episode. Do you remember what it's called?
What her podcast is called? Mm-hmm. It's called Expanded By with Chelsea Mern.
So hopefully we'll be on that soon. She's in Hawaii or something. So hopefully she's having a lovely time. But I listened to her latest episode, which aligns perfectly with our last episode, talking about authenticity and removing your fears around being authentic and showing up as you actually are instead of who you think you should be, and why that attracts the right kind of people for your business. That's what hers was about. And ours was about showing up it was Venus and Aquarius. So showing up to your relationships in the community in an authentic way. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are like mirrors of each other. So I thought it was really incredible.
Very cool.
Anyways, that's all the news.
I love it.
Should we get started on the week?
Let's get started. Yeah.
Also, we have the Basics of Astrology. The paperback version is in the Crystal Shrine. It's like a crystal store, bookstore, metaphysical shop. And so if you want to get a copy of that, you can order it on Amazon also, but there's paperback copies at the Crystal Shrine in North Hollywood. It's a beautiful shop, by the way.
The Crystal Shrine in North Hollywood. We should put a link to their website in the show notes.
Okay, let's do that. The owner was so nice, and we are honored to have our book in there. So if you don't have the book and you want to go visit their little store and get a little treat for yourself, go visit them because they're adorable.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just on their website right now. I'll put a link in the show notes. Awesome. That's cool. Wow. Our first bookstore.
I know. I'm going to start going around trying to get in all the shops.
Very cool. Very cool. Very exciting. Should we get into the week, Ingrid?
Yes, let's.
Okay, so this is the week of January 23rd through the 29th. And we begin on Monday, January 23rd. Kind of where we were last week, the week before, talking about Venus. You know, this is Venus's last alignment in Aquarius before it moves into Pisces this week. So that's one of those energy shifts that we're talking about. We've talked about Saturn moving into Pisces and Pluto moving into Aquarius, which happens in March. But right now, this week, is when Venus moves into Pisces. So Venus is Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships. And it is conjunct with the moon, the planet of emotions, in Aquarius, the fixed air sign symbolized by the water bear. So, this is giving an emotional reflection of our relationships within the community or within the group context. You know, Aquarius is a very unemotional sign. It's very logical. It's more fact-based than emotion-based. But the moon transiting through Aquarius is going to bring some of that emotional sensitivity to logic or the greater good, the community, the group, the club, the organization, the social network or cause. And the connection to Venus is encouraging you to take a look at these relationships that you have within the group context. How do your values align with theirs? Do you connect with them on an emotional level? If not, maybe this is a day where you can find some sort of an emotional connection with those that you are in relationship with in the group or community.
I'm also thinking that this is a perfect time to express emotion in a logical way, because sometimes when we're feeling emotional, it's really hard to express yourself in the community. So maybe either you're hiding it because you don't feel comfortable sharing it, or when you do share, it's coming across as either like too hot. So this is the time to be able to express something where someone's going to be able to receive what you're saying, and you're going to be able to talk about your emotions in I always like to say disconnected, but that always sounds a little bit negative somehow. But
right, I know.
I guess logical would be the best way, where you just, you're elevated above your emotions so you can actually discuss them without being inside of the emotion, which has so much value.
Totally. You're taking the emotions out of the equation and you're talking about your feelings in a more rational way.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess rational, that's a very important. I mean, there is a time and place for just having everything be hot and expressing it also. But on this day, I think taking advantage of having that rational mind to express yourself is very useful.
Yes, because especially now with the fact that Venus is going to move into Pisces in a couple days. Like if we're looking at the basics of astrology here, you see like the order of the signs when we're looking at this section on the houses, and after Aquarius comes Pisces. So that's the rhythm here. It goes fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water. So
is this like introverted, extroverted?
Yes, introverted, introverted, extroverted. Yes, it's introverted, extroverted, introverted, extroverted. So air signs are always followed by water signs.
Oh, this is so good. I think you just mentioned this last week, and just the visual of that, I'm reminded of that, and that's totally the rhythm.
Yes. So once we can be rational and logical about our values and our feelings, and you're able to create that clarity, that conscious clarity, which is what the air signs are about. It's about conscious clarity. Now that you have this conscious clarity, you're able to step into the feelings. You're able to step into the emotions, because sometimes emotions get all confused and we're not rational. But now that we are rational, we can step back into the feelings because we truly see what the other person is all about versus what we're all about. So we take the emotions out, we get rational, and then we put the emotions back in, and it feels better. It's like, wow, okay, I can have feelings for you because I understand where you're coming from. Before, I couldn't understand because we were putting the emotions first, and it got very cloudy and stormy and confusing. But then we took the emotions out, and we brought in the clarity through being rational and sticking to the facts. And now that we've got that clarity, now we can put the feelings back in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, it's just basically anytime you're having like an argument or a fight or something or a disagreement, it's like in that moment it feels really hot. But then once you get all the shit out, you can revisit that conversation afterwards, usually with more clarity and more calmness, to be like, okay, this is what I was trying to say. I heard what you were trying to say. There was a disconnect because we were like really emotional, but now we can actually discuss it with clarity and reason.
It's like how sometimes people are in a fight with each other, but they're both on the same side. It's like, yes. It's like they're arguing. It's like you realize we actually agree on everything that we're talking about. Why are we screaming at each other here? But
oh my God.
It's like that's what emotions does. Sometimes like you end up fighting somebody who is like on your side. So hopefully this Aquarius, or this Moon and Venus in Aquarius alignment, brings that clarity that we're looking for. And then Tuesday, January 24th, now the Sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, transiting through Aquarius, aligns with Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, in the cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram, Aries. So this is heating things up in a very positive way through that clarity that we received on Monday. Now we have the confidence and the courage to step forward authentically in the community, in the group. We're very clear about where we stand, who we are, what we're supposed to be doing here, what we're contributing. That's what it's about. How are you contributing? Are you being authentic? And what are your plans for the future for yourself and those that you're in partnership with?
Well, I think we already talked maybe last week or the week before a bunch about showing up authentically and kind of removing those fears. So I think we've been working on that for a bit now. And so on Tuesday, we're actually able to really be so expressive. We're actually starting to expand now. We're totally stepping into that space of truly being ourselves and not having fear hold us back. Or even if we're having fear, not allowing it to hold us back from being our true selves. Absolutely.
Because this is an alignment that really supports big ideas, big inventions. Like
yes.
when you are being authentic, that is when you can truly be innovative, where it's like you had this idea that maybe you suppressed because you're like, everyone's going to think I'm stupid. Everyone's going to think that's crazy, but if you're truly embracing your authenticity, you're like, here it is. I'm going to share what it is I want to share, and I'm not worried about what people think because I'm being authentic to myself.
I had a night a couple days ago. Now I want to go look on time passages and see where my transits were. Maybe I can show you, and if I don't see anything, you can maybe tell me what you think.
Yeah.
But I was on the phone with my friend Gio, and we're trying to work out some sort of business with food. And anyways, I was like on this I was on one I had so many good ideas, and Gio was like, oh my, you need to start writing all these down. I don't even know what's happening, but you've just had like these genius ideas, like so many of them in this little like compressed time period. And so I started like writing all this stuff down, and I don't even know where it came from, but I'm like, I bet maybe Aquarius, that like ingenious ideas, and possibly Jupiter, I felt like this explosion of just like almost vomiting out all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm having some sort of a crazy like breakthrough of
that's an alignment with your North Node. Your North Node is in the 11th house, which is associated with the 11th sign. So anyone whose North Node is in the 11th house or in Aquarius, you're supposed to be focused. Yes, friendship, meaning the group, the club, the organization, the social network or cause, but also, embracing your individuality. What makes you unique? Inventions. Innovative ideas. That's what
some innovative ideas.
Okay.
I think that was okay. We're gonna go peek.
Okay.
Spy on my chart.
Awesome. Wednesday, January 25th, the Moon and Jupiter are together in Aries. So this is giving that greater encouragement to be authentic, to be yourself. Of course, those with key astrological points or planets in Cancer or in Capricorn, those are the signs that square. They square Aries. So this could be a challenging day for Cancer people or Capricorn people or people that have key astrological points or planets in Cancer or Capricorn. But what this energy is doing is pushing you out of your comfort zone. Yeah. The Cancer energy wants to be subtle, and the Capricorn energy is very measured. Like, we know where we need to go, but we got to take each step in just the right way. Where Aries is like, I'm kicking down the door. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. There is no protocol. Like, I'm just going to take it. I'm going to kick down the door and take what's mine. And so there's a lot of that energy today on Wednesday with Jupiter and the Moon in Aries. And so expect some big emotional expressions. Especially if you are suppressing yourself in any way, or if you are feeling suppressed in any way, there could be some big emotional explosions. But these explosions are meant to clear the energy that's stuck, so that you can get to where you want to go.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, I'm always trying to get out of the language of saying positive and negative. And so like this doesn't necessarily have to be negative. It's like that's just what needs to happen. Like sometimes we are holding everything like that, it's so precious and close to us, and we don't want to like give it up because otherwise it's going to feel uncomfortable, or they're not going to accept us, or for whatever reason we have fears around like expressing ourselves. And so it's really, that push is necessary, because sometimes or a lot of the time, depending on who we are, we're going to do that. We have those tendencies, and it's better not to be hiding, especially if we have these, maybe yesterday you have all these ingenious ideas, maybe you're expressing them to like some people in your community, and then today you're just like, or maybe you like wanted to yesterday, or you brainstormed yesterday, you had all these ideas that you should have shared and you didn't, and then today you're like, oh fuck, actually I need to
spit it out.
Yeah.
You need to share it.
So even though sometimes it can be scary, it can also be really exciting.
Exactly.
And it gives people a chance to accept you when you're actually like being your true self. Like, the worst thing that can happen is somebody doesn't fucking like you anymore. well, who cares about them? I mean,
Exactly.
maybe that's uncomfortable, but like, or what if they're
yeah.
like, oh my God, this is the best idea ever. We love this. We want to hear more of this. Well, that's also like best case scenario. So like, you're never going to be able to experience those wins if you don't put yourself out there.
Absolutely. And this is about facing those insecurities. And that's, facing those insecurities so that you can put yourself out there. And when you are putting yourself out there authentically, now you're attracting people that truly reflect you. And I gotta say, like, I've lost some friends, like over the last few years when I started getting into this whole astrology thing. That people that were really close to me have now just kind of, evaporated away. And it's, at first it kind of hurts, but then you just realize that they've cleared the space for all these new, amazing, wonderful people. Not that they weren't wonderful, but these new people that are coming into my life are a more appropriate reflection of who I am. You know, these other people that have gone away from my life, they were a more appropriate reflection for me maybe 10, 20 years ago. But we've grown, and this is, people grow apart. And when you grow apart because you're no longer reflecting each other. And by being authentic, you're going to attract those into your life that are truly reflecting you. And when you clear out those that aren't reflecting you, it clears space for new people to come into your life that are reflecting the present person that you are at this point in time.
I mean, I didn't lose, but one of my friendships kind of were much more distant. Like, we still care about each other, but we still have a lot in common, but there's just some main things that we didn't have in common. And it was putting like a big roadblock in like my time and both of our energies, because we would spend a lot of time together. And now that I have more time and space for other people, it's just much healthier. It's just so much healthier to have people that are really supporting you in all aspects of your life. And she said something the other day, like, we connected during the holidays just to check in with each other and say hi, because we do really care about each other. But she was like, oh, I wish it wasn't like this. And I'm like, well, it's better that we are not arguing all the time, and like we can be like better versions of ourselves, and when we don't have to like hide part of ourselves so we don't fight. Like, that's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Like, we don't want to live like that. We can connect, more sparsely and feel more authentic and just checking in about certain things instead of sharing all the aspects of our life like we used to.
Exactly. Who wants to walk on eggshells whenever you're around somebody?
Yeah, especially when you're doing it all the time, when you're connecting all the time with someone and they're a regular part of your life. It's just like, it's too much. It's not a good space to be in, to feel like you're hiding.
And that's probably, that's part of what this Jupiter energy is doing, is it's forcing you to be authentic, forcing you to face those insecurities, those fears. And now as we move into Thursday, January 26th, we have Venus transiting into the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish, Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces, so Venus is in a position of power here. Venus will be transiting through Pisces from January 26th until February 19th. The last time Venus transited through Pisces was April 5th to May 2nd. So if you want to go back to episode 104, that's when we were talking about Venus transiting into Pisces. But and I didn't look at the time before that. We probably have that episode too. But it's Venus is in a position of power in Pisces, and it brings greater empathy to relationships, where you're really starting to look at those that you're in partnership with, whether it be a lover, a friend, or a business partner, and you're starting to feel for them more. It's interesting when you talk about that Aquarius energy, that's detached because it's logical. So Venus in Aquarius is about, hey, let's just, be friends with everyone and keep it light. Whereas when Venus goes into Pisces, it's like, now we're going to get deep with one another. I'm really going to get into your unconscious, what your psychological baggage is, because in seeing your psychological baggage, it's probably going to be reflecting mine. And you tell me how you're insecure about XYZ, and I'm going to say, I totally understand. I feel the same way. So, during this period, how can you be more empathetic and compassionate with those that you're in relationship with? At the same time, you also want to be careful that you're not bending over backwards to the point that you're breaking your own back for somebody that you're in relationship with, because those that are born with Venus in Pisces or Venus in the 12th house, they'll tell you that they're givers in relationship and they're often taken advantage of. So this could be a period where, if you're not careful, you may be taken advantage of by a partner. There can be confusion, illusion, or deception that occurs during Venus's transit through Pisces. And especially for those that were born with key astrological points or planets in Gemini and Sagittarius, those are the signs that square Pisces. So there's going to be challenges in relationship for those with key astrological points or planets in Gemini and Sagittarius.
Which I have, my rising is in Gemini.
And your descendant is in Sagittarius, which is the 7th house, which is the house of marriage, the house of relationships.
I mean, I want to mention that giving too much type of energy, which I totally relate to. I feel like the people-pleasing situation, I've been trying to unravel that for a couple of years now. And a lot of it is, you say people taking advantage of you, which a lot of that's happened unconsciously. You're doing something unconsciously, giving too much, and they're taking too much unconsciously. It's like, until we are really made aware of these reflections in ourselves, it's so hard to, like, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, why would I keep doing that? Why would the other person keep doing that to me? But it's like, we're both reflecting each other's unconscious. So no one's on purpose, some people are on purpose taking from you, but just being more mindful of the energy we are giving and the energy we are taking from others, just being more mindful of that, because I think the awareness is what kind of can begin to take away its power when you become aware of those type of patterns.
So be aware if you're actually the one who is manipulating or deceiving the ones that you're in relationship with. And
then also, I'm not sure if this exactly relates, but people pleasing is an unconscious behavior, and in its own way is manipulative. Like, both parties are the manipulators in the situation, and sometimes even more so the giver. If they keep giving, they get to control the situation. And so, not pointing any fingers, because I'm talking to myself. As I delve more into those type of behaviors, I'm like, oh fuck, I felt like I was being taken advantage of. But when I started taking responsibility for myself and becoming aware of myself, I need to be in charge of me, and no one's forcing me to do anything. I'm the one that's deciding to do things too much or allow someone to take too much. That's also on me. So just being aware of how we're putting our energy out there, even in that friendship that I mentioned. It's like, okay, well, I could say she was taking advantage of me, but we are allowing people access to us, and that is on us.
Yes.
We decide who we keep in our life, what friendships we keep, what lovers we keep, what jobs we keep, and how people are treating us. Maybe not necessarily in all jobs, but in many other aspects of our life, we have complete control over if that person is allowed in or not. We are the gatekeepers of our own time. Absolutely.
And, this goes back to yesterday's transit with Jupiter and Aries. That's about the self-confidence, authenticity. And if you're somebody who's people-pleasing, then you're not being authentic to yourself. And so that's sort of the gift or challenge with Jupiter transiting Aries the same time as Venus is transiting Pisces. It's hopefully giving you the courage to be authentic in relationship so that you're not people-pleasing, that you truly are being empathetic or compassionate, but it's in alignment with your own needs. and not just trying to get the other person to like you. And so I did look back because I just think this is fun. But if you're interested, the first time Ingrid and I talked about Venus in Pisces was episode 46. That was 2 times ago that Venus was transiting in Pisces, and then the last time was episode 104. So who knows? You go back and listen to those episodes, you might hear some little nuggets of wisdom, dare I say, that might help you with this transit, because I don't even know what I was saying back then, but maybe it was something.
Every time I edit and I listen back, I'm just like, wow, like I'll listen and be like, wow, that was really good. Or I don't even remember what I said, or someone's like, oh wow, that one episode where you're sharing this. I'm like, I have no recollection of that. I think just in having an authentic conversation with each other, sometimes there's some treasures in there about just insights we have about ourselves or the people that we're in relationships with.
Exactly. When it's like just you and me talking, I'm not remembering what I'm saying. People say the same thing to me all the time too. Like, oh my God, like what you said. And I was like, what did I say? Like, I don't remember. But the last time Venus was in Pisces was April 5th to May 2nd, 2022. April 5th to May 2nd, 2022. So think back to what was going on in your life during this period. It may give you clues for what is in store during this next transit, January 26th to February 19th, 2023. Okay, let's move forward to Friday, January 27th. So this is an alignment that we've talked about recently in the last couple months, twice before. I'm going to list those too. This is Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination in the cardinal earth sign symbolized by the goat, Capricorn, squaring off with Chiron, the wound, and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound in Aries. So Chiron is bringing up that wound to our self-confidence, the wound to our sense of self, not understanding who you are. I don't know who I am. I'm confused about who I am. I'm afraid to be who I am. This is about having the courage to step into your power, to face your fears. Squaring off with Mercury, the messenger of the gods in Capricorn, this is about speaking from a place of authority, a place of confidence. Sometimes people get confused when I say authority. When I'm saying authority, I'm not saying like you're somebody on a hill that's like pointing down at everybody else and suppressing them. Authority means you are somebody that has knowledge. Like you are an authority on history or medieval history, or you're an authority on this type of science, or you're an authority on how to make this kind of food. That's what an authority is. And so where are you an authority in your life? What are you working to accomplish and achieve? And are you at a point where maybe you're feeling like, I know what I'm talking about here, but I'm afraid to say it because I'm not sure if people are going to take me seriously. So that is Mercury in Capricorn squaring off with Chiron in Aries, because it's about facing those fears within you that say, no, you're not smart enough to tell people about what you know, because what you know isn't worth anything. You're an idiot. You don't really know what you think you know. That's that voice that you need to face and say, actually, I've done the work and I've taken responsibility for what I need to learn in order to speak from this position where others are going to listen to me.
I heard this really good phrase. I can't remember exactly what it was called. Maybe someone can tell me, but it was like these 4 corners of people that don't know what they don't know. Then there's people that know they don't know. And then there's people that know that they know. Anyways, it was this whole dichotomy of people being like, if you don't know that much, you'll have an amount of confidence because you think that you know everything, because you only see something so small. You don't know how much else is out there. And it's like the more you are educated in your field, your confidence may decrease because now there's more that you know that you don't know. So you're like, oh, I don't know everything. Now that I opened this box and I'm actually better at what I do, I know that I don't know everything because that's impossible.
Totally.
So it's like your confidence decreases. And, you know, this is a reminder to be like, okay, you can still be an authority on something, even if you don't know everything. Being able to show up and be like, okay, this is something that I'm good at, that I'm educated in, and that could be a career, like it's ambition, achievement. This could just be being a mom. This could be parenting your kids. This could be making a meal. This could be, you know, recording a podcast. It could be anything, like simple or complex. It could be just, you know, communicating in relationships you can be good at, and knowing that you can share that with the people that you're connected to. And I think that the dichotomy, the square, is like, it is uncomfortable to step into that space when you have you know, discomfort around it. It's like, well, what if, like, that's our core wound of being like, oh, well, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough self-confidence. It's like, well, it's like you do and you don't at the same time. Even when you want to express it, like, those fears are going to come up. So just doing it anyways, even when it's uncomfortable. And that is the only way to heal that wound to your self-confidence, is to actually just put yourself out there and see what happens.
Yes, exactly. So true. And this is sort of the culmination right now, because this is an alignment that we've discussed. This is the third time over the last month and a half. We discussed this on December 14th in episode 140. We discussed this on January 11th, episode 144. And then today, January 27th, episode 146. So this is the third time. Yeah, third time's a charm. So the first time, December 14th, was when Mercury was direct, squaring Chiron, and then the second time was when Mercury was retrograde, squaring Chiron, and the third time is now Mercury and Chiron are both direct again. So it's like, on where were you in terms of your confidence? And speaking from a place of authority on December 14th, where were you on January 11th? Where are you now? What's the progress? How have you seen any sort of growth in this area? But we've sort of been hit on the head with this difficult transit 3 times. This is the third time. Hopefully by this time you're comfortable facing those fears, stepping into your power, and communicating from that position of authority.
I mean, it's just about practice. So maybe the first time was like very uncomfortable. The second time you're like, okay, I'm kind of figuring it out. I'm still kind of scared, but that's okay. And then this time, even though it's still going to be uncomfortable, you're like, oh, this is what I need to do to get where I want to be. Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm just thinking about just being in a new space, like going on stage for the first time at the club. It's like, okay, that's so uncomfortable. And then you're like, okay, you do it again. And now it's just second nature now that you're practicing it. Like those fears, like even one of the girls, she's one of the best dancers ever. She's like incredible. She only dances maybe once a month or once every other month. Every time she comes, she's like, if I haven't been here in a lot, like, I'm so nervous to go on stage. I'm like, what are you talking about? We were just talking about you the other day, just talking about how amazing your stage set is. She's just like, I don't know. I just get really nervous. Like, I don't like to look at anybody. And that just like blows my mind. But it's like, if we're out of practice of doing these things, maybe in the past it's been easy for us to do something, and now you're out of practice, you need to, start implementing those things so you can feel better about yourself. Like, it just takes practice. Like, confidence isn't something that's just comes out of the gate always. Like, when we're practicing something, we'll get better at it and it'll be easier.
And that's what Capricorn's all about. It's about the work. It's about showing up every day and getting on stage and doing the routine, doing the dance, whatever it is you're working on. And as you do it each and every day, you're going to get a little bit better each time.
And then also when you have, like, if you're doing it all the time, I have days where I'm like, I have no physical energy to even be on stage. I'm like, I don't even know what just happened. I'm like, I know I'm not being as smooth, or my tricks don't look as good. And I'm just like, But it doesn't affect my self-confidence as much when I know I'm showing up all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm just having a bad day. I'm just tired. It's fine. Like, who cares? Like, I can't always show up and I would love to have 150% energy all the time, but that's impossible. So sometimes I'm like, I only have 30% energy and I'm showing up 30% and that's all I can do. And my self-confidence isn't crushed because of that. But if I was only doing it once a month or once every 2 months and I wasn't showing up at that high level, I would probably be devastated and humiliated.
Absolutely, because
you're practice.
You're putting all that pressure on one time. If you're doing it like once a month as opposed to 4 times a week, that's a totally different thing. It's like you have one bad day and you're like, whatever, I'll be back tomorrow and I'll do better.
Social media is the perfect example. I told myself I was going to post more. I'm like, okay, it's the new year, whatever my little goals are. I'm like, I want to show up more to promote the podcast. And I had a horrible headache. I was trying to remember just to say, hey, the new episode's out. This is what we talked about. I, for the life of me, couldn't remember no matter how many times I read it. I kept stuttering. I was just like, I posted it anyways. I couldn't remember what the hell I even said. And then I posted a reel because I said I was going to. I wasn't ready for the day. I was still wearing my pajamas. My hair wasn't done. I didn't look super cute. The tie of my shirt was tucked into my pants. There was none of it was like super cute. I was just thinking, oh, I'll take a video of myself. I'll figure out what I want to do. Anyways, I took one 30-second little snapshot just to show myself something. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put a voiceover and I'm going to put it up. And then I posted it and I was like, oh man, all the captions aren't where I wanted them to be. I was going to highlight them and make them look prettier so it was more aesthetically pleasing. And then I was just like, my head hurts. I'm just going to put it out. And like, the more I put stuff out, I'm like, it wasn't perfect. And I get like this, because I don't post that often, I get so attached to each thing being like, oh, like I wanted to make sure my hair looked pretty and my outfit looked cute and all of the graphics like reflected me as a human being. It's like, honestly, nobody really gives a fuck. Like, okay, you looked like you just woke up and your outfit was like crumpled and pajamas and the fucking captions weren't perfect. You know who really, I'm the one that cares the most. And also like I hold myself back from doing so many things by being so obsessive on something being perfect. So just trying to just let go of everything being perfect and it not being like the biggest reflection of who I am. If I go on stage and I'm tired, you know what? I'm fucking tired. I'm here. I'm here. That's all I got today is I got here.
Did you get a lot of angry comments on your post? Because people were upset with you?
Yeah, so many. They were pissed.
Yeah, they were angry, right?
Actually, somebody, one of the listeners, I think it's like somebody who cooks. I can't remember her name, but I know her Instagram face and stuff. And she was like, oh my gosh, you need to be more confident. Because I think I said I didn't do all the things I wanted to do, but here's my thing. Like, this is my, anyways, I just thought
it's your Virgo nature, beating yourself up, needing everything to be perfect. You're being hard on yourself.
It's not a good quality. Sometimes people are like, oh, perfectionism, what a thing. Like, that's so negative. I'm like, actually, it is negative. It can be
paralyzing.
Yeah, I don't do anything because I'm psychotic and I'm just like, oh, if it's not perfect, then I don't want to show anybody. And it's like, well, that's why you don't literally do anything or show anything. I have thousands of pictures I'm like, outside of this, I'm like a photographer, but I don't post anything because I want it to look like I'm a photographer. And it's like, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about what you want to present yourself as. Just share your things and show your personality. That's what people care about, is connecting. That's the purpose, is connection, not about being perfect. Because all the accounts I follow I follow like a bunch of like house moms and like people that I feel like I relate to. Someone's showing their messy house and I'm just like, oh, like I like the people that are more authentic. They don't feel so curated. But when I look at myself, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be somebody like this perfect version of myself that doesn't even exist because I'm out of my fucking mind over here.
Social media is all about one thing: content. If you're not producing content because you're trying to make it like this perfect thing, then your channel's never going to grow. But if you're just showing up every day and posting one thing, then it doesn't matter what it is. It's gonna bring people in.
Yeah, sometimes you can post your perfect stuff that you spend a bunch of time. You're like, oh, I wanted to take a picture of this and write this caption and the whole thing. And then other days you're like, I'm tired. All I have is this. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not that fucking important. Also, nobody really gives a fuck about you. Nobody cares. They're just going to swipe right past it anyways, whether it's good or bad. Nobody, like me and my friends. My friend Joe, we like toured for a whole year together. And like our running joke was like, we'd look at each other because we'd both try to like, get everything organized and fucking cross all the T's and dot all the I's. And then we'd look at each other and be like, nobody cares. Like, that's just always our joke. Nobody cares. Because they fucking don't. Like, we're the only ones obsessing. Like, it's nice if everything's perfect, but like, also just letting that go and just allowing things to be and being easy about it. I'm not sure how I got on that long tangent, but
I don't know, but I love it. I love the tangent.
Self-confidence and Aries and the fears and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The authenticity and authority and courage. So that's Mercury and Chiron. Now, Saturday, January 28th, it's the Sun in Aquarius squaring off with the North Node, the soul's purpose or karmic pathway of the soul, in the fixed Earth sign, symbolized by the bull, Taurus. So this is aligning your self-worth, what you value, and how that relates or can be incorporated with the community, the group, the club, the organization, the social network or cause. How are you contributing to the community through honoring and respecting your self-worth and what you value? There could be some friction here where you recognize that, the people that I'm around that are a part of this group, they don't honor, respect, or reflect my values.
Yeah.
So maybe I feel like an outsider here.
I mean, I was just telling you about that one friendship, and so a lot of our values do not align, and it was creating some big issues around showing up in an authentic way. So like we have, doing that earlier in the week, we make space for people who we're like practicing making space for people who are going to accept us for who we are. So maybe this, I guess, might be just another one of those uncomfortable days as we are learning to show up more authentically, more often, and putting ourselves out there and not being so scared. We're going to come up with more uncomfortable situations where our values don't align. So we're kind of feeling the effects of whatever it is that we might have said or done that other people are not feeling so much.
Yes, the more authentic you are, the more you may be ostracizing or pushing away those within the group that don't reflect you.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I think we said this in the last episode or 2 episodes ago, sometimes when you are authentic and you're like, nobody in this group is going to reflect me, I'm too weird and all this stuff, this is what I value, this is what I'm into, and then all of a sudden it was uncomfortable sharing the true nature of yourself and what's important to you, but in doing so you actually realize that no, there's actually people in the community or in the group that are like, wow, okay, yeah, I dig that. You're
the perfect example. Well, I shared that I went on that paid date and I was like, maybe I should delete that. I got so nervous afterwards. I'm like, why did I say that? I shouldn't have shared that. It just feels like too personal. And then the girl that tipped me through Venmo was like, oh my God, thank you. I just sent her all these questions and said like what I would do in the situation, kind of like. And I just feel like I made like such a strong connection with her. I was so excited for her. And I feel like we had this great bonding experience over something that we have in common that I wouldn't have gotten to experience if I didn't have like that bit of discomfort being like, oh no, what if I'm judged? Or what if people think it's like, I don't know, just feeling judged about sharing that.
Totally.
And then having the reflection of people being supportive. I'm like, oh my God, fuck, why? Every time. And then I think I texted Scott, or I'm talking to you, but I texted you about
yes.
that experience that I had, and he was like, see, every time you have this fear around sharing something new, there is like a more overwhelming support in me being more vulnerable is maybe the people that I thought would respond aren't responding, but I'm having like more people that actually connect with me respond to that energy, and that feels so special. I forget about, I'm reminded in that moment of, oh my God, I was so scared, and now look what happened. Now I have like a beautiful friendship, or like
yes. And you help
so
someone.
Cool. Yeah.
You help someone that, yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I do it at work all the time, but I don't feel that's like kind of my home there. We're talking about all of these things, ways to make money and business things about men and whatever. And so that doesn't feel like scary or weird, but like sharing on here, sometimes I'm like, oh no, is this the right space to share that? And then like, I get such a nice response. And I mean, the biggest part is I really like helping people. So it wasn't so much to brag or as to do anything like that. I got to like actually help, I hope help somebody, find some clarity or make some more money or feel more confident about it so she can do more of what she loves to do.
Yes. Fantastic. I love it. It's such an interesting sort of very Aquarius, very weird sort of story. It's not something you hear every day. So
I'm like,
I really appreciate that of you.
Money going on fucking dates or vacations, that would be my fucking dream. I mean, it is also very hard, like actual work, like emotional, just being present with somebody. But you can make really good money doing it, and it could also be fun and rewarding.
I love it. Awesome. So yeah, that's a Saturday, January 28th. Now Sunday, January 29th, we've got Mercury in Capricorn aligning with Uranus, the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, and the unexpected. In the fixed earth sign, Taurus. So this is another one of those alignments like the one we were talking about on Friday with Mercury and Chiron. This is the third time in the last month and a half that we're seeing Mercury connect with Uranus. The first time they connected, Mercury was direct, Uranus was retrograde. The second time, Mercury and Uranus were both retrograde. And then this time, Uranus and Mercury are both direct. But the days that those occurred were December 17th, that was episode 140, January 8th, episode 143, and then today, January 29th, which is episode 146. So this is about that individuality again. It's about embracing what makes you unique, speaking from a place of authority. Like, okay, I'm weird. I'm the girl that went on a date with a guy who paid me, but I have knowledge of that now, and I can share this information. And so that's what this Mercury-Uranus is about. It's about embracing your individuality, your self-worth, what you value, and speaking from that place of authority.
And then if you're following along with the visuals here, this is just like a perfect example of why the book is so important and learning the signs and symbols, which until we wrote the book together, I was so resistant to. But when you're looking at it here, you see the Earth-Earth connection, you see the Air-Air connection, and that you're like, oh, that's why it's a trine, because those two are connecting. It's like it's just becoming more clear to me the more we look at the signs and symbols, how important it was to actually start learning what all these fucking squiggles mean.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was just a reminder when I saw that. I was like, oh fuck yeah, air. Like now I'm just seeing the colors that you put everything in, it really just helps. In order to be fluent in the language, you need to learn how to read the language. I know, I feel like I'm not quite fluent, but I know most of the things now. I feel like now I'm really getting into like the houses, and like, yeah, it's just becoming like the layers are starting to stack up, and it's super cool to experience when I'm just like, oh wait, there's like a new thing that I just like remember now. That's awesome. You're conversational. You may not be fluent, but you're conversational. You can have a conversation in the language of astrology. And you mentioned that air connection. That's the second alignment for Sunday, January 29th. The sun in Aquarius aligning with Mars, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, and conflict, in the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini. So the sun in Aquarius, which is fixed air, Mars in Gemini, which is mutable air, that creates a trine. This is really pushing you to have the confidence to ask the questions that you need to ask in order to receive the clarity, the facts, the information that you need within the community or from the group. So, Mars had been stuck at 8 degrees from January 1st to January 24th. Now on January 29th, it's finally here at 9 degrees where it's been for the last 5 days. It's moving very slowly. It doesn't move out of its retrograde shadow until mid-March. But it's again encouraging you to recognize that you don't have all the knowledge.
that it's important for all of us to ask questions in order to learn what we need to in order to make more sense of what's going on here on planet Earth. It's a crazy time. Why is it crazy? Well, the god of war is transiting through the sign of communication. So it brings some heat to the conversation. And in order to temper that heat down, we need to take a positive approach to learning a little bit about a lot with everyone that we come into contact with.
Well, I'm thinking if we're all showing up in this new and more authentic way, it's like not only are we doing that, but we're seeing the people around us doing that more. And so on this day, it's like we're the sign of Taurus. So that's like, it's actually happening. It's in the material. We are communicating. There's Mercury in Capricorn. Like now all those things we talked about, we're doing them. We're living it. And then the Aquarius and Gemini energy, it's like we're all doing the things that we were scared to do. Now we're doing them. We're living it. And we're seeing other people do the same thing. So instead of being like, oh, fuck, they're doing something different. Like, what is happening to the world? Everybody's not agreeing with me. We're all doing something different. It's like, instead we're just being genuinely curious. Oh my gosh, why are you doing that the way you're doing it? Why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing it that way? And the other people are also being curious about us. Well, why are you doing this now? What made you change your mind? What made you do things differently? And it's like that genuine curiosity. That genuine curiosity.
Curiosity?
I'm just all over the place. The genuine curiosity can dissolve this. I feel like in general in the world, everything feels very disconnected. There's a lot of judgment. If somebody does not agree with us, especially like politically, it's like, oh, people are just cutting ties with people and they're like, fuck you, I never want to talk to you again. You don't think the same exact thing I think. It's like, well, how about we all just do what feels right for us? And then we're genuinely curious about why people are doing why are they doing things differently? Like we can't all be the same person. And if we're more compassionate, we're more authentic, we're more compassionate, we're more curious, we're probably going to be able to actually get the answers. Okay, well, they want to do it like this because of that. Okay, I'm going to do it differently. And that's okay. Like this feels like a very peaceful day. We're all doing our own fucking thing. And we're just wondering why people do it differently. Instead of it being a fight, it can just be, a day about learning.
Yes, exactly. That's it. A day about learning. So if you're curious about how these alignments are affecting you directly, I encourage you to contact me for a reading. I also want to mention, I haven't talked about this in at least several episodes, but I have another program called The Cosmic Pathway where I work one-on-one with individuals that I've done a reading with before. We would meet on a weekly basis and I guide you through your week using the planets and stars. If you're somebody who is curious about astrology and wants to be an astrologer, this is another good way to learn the language of astrology because I'll be coaching you through understanding the language. But even if you're somebody who doesn't really that doesn't want to be an astrologer and maybe doesn't even really want to learn everything about astrology, but understands the value of using the planets and stars to guide them through life, then contact me. Email me, scott@theweeklytransit.com, The Cosmic Pathway. I'd love to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys get a little taste of it here with just what me and Scott talk about. Sometimes he brings up stuff from my past, and when I get to meet with him every week, it's like, yeah, well, of course, if you want to become an astrologer, working with him one-on-one, he really can, push your buttons and like really push your boundaries of reminding you of all of the things and the why behind what he's saying. But also, if you don't even give a shit about astrology and you just want to work on personal growth, which, I mean, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm interested in astrology, but that's not my everything. Personal growth, I think, is the most important. And astrology has been such an instrumental tool in my personal growth because, at least when I'm meeting with Scott every week, there's a certain amount of accountability that happens. He's very compassionate, he's very loving, but he's also very tough and like very funny. Like I feel like we laugh most of the time when we end up getting into some super deep shit. I'm crying and I'm laughing and Scott's laughing, but he's also being like stern and being like, he's asking me the difficult questions to be able to help myself. I don't know if it sounds cheesy, but like level up. It's like you're holding me accountable in a way. You're making sure I'm actually holding myself accountable. And astrology, if anything, is just this really nice flow of how to deal with life. It's like, I'm saying it all out of order, but like first you work on communication, then you work on relationships, then you work on business stuff, then you work on family. It's like there's a flow to these things that really makes it all make sense and is very instrumental in just kind of using the order to kind of work on things. The introverted, extroverted, like putting yourself out there, pulling it back, putting it out, pulling it back, like these rhythms when you're working with it every week it's just so impactful to be able to just follow the rhythms of like our spirit and our soul and have somebody to hold your hand along the way. So thank you so much, Scott, for always showing up for me and for sharing all of the knowledge of the planets and stars. And like, now I'm conversational in astrology and like my life sucks way less. So yeah,
I'm glad.
If anyone,
awesome.
Also, if anyone's, I feel like specifically astrology, if you're not as invested, like a lot of people use it. They're like, oh, I want to start a new job. I'm getting a new job. I want to move. I'm having a relationship issue. Any of these big major events in our life. That's when I would suggest reaching out to Scott for either just one of the longer readings or signing up for that cosmic pathway. Any sort of big transitions that are coming up that you're confused about or scared about. That's when you, I think, are getting the most amount of support and personal growth in those times. And to have someone to carry you along those transitions, I think it's extra supportive.
For sure.
Thinking about working with Scott, that's when I would highly recommend, the cosmic pathway or readings or anything like that.
Awesome. Thanks, Ingrid.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Should we answer a couple questions? Do we have time?
The episode is pretty long at this point.
Okay. Yeah, we can cut it there. So,
but we will have more questions. Or answers, I guess.
Yeah,
we'll have more answers.
Our back. Yeah, next episode we'll get to some more questions. We've got quite a backlog here. Also, just highlight too. This is important to always mention. If you're somebody who's living on the other side of the earth, from where Ingrid and I are in California, if you're in Australia, Singapore, New Zealand. You're a day ahead of us. So if we're talking about Monday, that's actually your Tuesday. If we're talking about Sunday, that's actually your Monday. So
all right, Scott, well, thank you for everything, and we will see you next week.
All right, see you next week, Ingrid. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. Follow us on Instagram for daily updates about the planetary alignments and how to work with the energy. If this podcast is helping you navigate life more gracefully, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and share with your friends. If you're ready to go deeper, book a personal reading with Scott or sign up for his new moon, full moon class at theweeklytransit.com.
The Weekly Transit.